Hi guys, you're about to watch the free podcast of the Young Turks, fun for everybody. Now, you understand that there's only 2 of our segments. We do a live 2-hour show every day, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern.
And if you want to hear the entire show, all you have to do is become a member. Sign up by going to TYT-09.05.14.
You can go under member options to become a member, and when you do that, it's totally convenient. You can either stream or download the show, audio or video. Plus, you get more of our network shows. There's no ads whatsoever, and you help support the show. So, TYT-Network.com. We'll see you there. It's a Friday show. I'm all pumped up. It's a power panel. Drop it. All right, several things must be explained. First of all, obviously, we have Ben Mankiewicz with Wes Clark, John Idarola here. It's an excellent power panel. Anna joins us in the second hour. She's got some great stories. The things that must be explained. First of all, I don't think I've ever worn this before. TYT Army. Let's take a look at this TYT Army. But I love this shirt.
Yeah, it's a good shirt.
Yeah, it's really cool. I work out in it a lot. I play basketball in it.
Oh, do you work out?
I didn't want to mention it, Ben,
yeah,
but
right. Well, I brought it up. So.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
I noticed a new muscle here. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like it's protruding. No, but it's protruding. Yeah, the muscles are multiplying. Yeah. I'm starting to get worried.
I'm a little bit worried too.
All right, so I'm yelling at the top of the show.
How's that jacket still too big for you then? That's what I'd like to know.
Too big, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean around the arms? Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I'm having a Tim Tebow-like problem. You know, I just really found this out.
Can't find a job. Nobody wants you.
Haven't gotten laid in decades.
Right, yeah.
Both of those are also true. Okay. No, Tim Tebow apparently couldn't throw the long ball because he was too muscular. His shoulder couldn't come all the way around. That's why he couldn't throw the ball that far. And when I was at Labor Day, I was playing football with the guys, and I was like, oh, God, I think I'm having a Tebow problem here.
I played football with you often before you worked out all the time. I must say that sounds vaguely familiar.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. I used to be the best long ball in the business. Okay, so John has said, I don't think I've ever been as pumped up as you were in that second there as we introed the Friday show. So, little inside baseball for no reason, except that's what we do on the Friday shows. On Fridays, I don't produce the show, right? So John produces it, Amir in this case, Irina, JR, Ben, etc., right? So I'm so much less stressed. I get a lot of business done, and I have a relaxing lunch usually, and I drink a lot of coffee. So then I come on here, and I got no worries. I mean, what's that thing, walking in heaven? I'm walking in heaven, right? And not a care in the world. So I'm ready to rip it up. And then last thing before we get started is that I realized a minute before the show that Wes doesn't have a nickname.
What?
Ben doesn't either, but that's fine. Okay, like we tried.
I didn't know Ben. I didn't know anyone had a nickname.
No, Johnny Pie, Rock and Roll Jesus,
AK-47,
AK-47, Casper the Friendly Host, DJ Triple J, Reverend J.R. Jackson. What? No, that's what I was going to say. When we were current, we tried briefly Mank the Tank. And we're like, oh, that's terrible. Terrible. Probably the best nickname is The Undertaker for Brian Unger.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
So
Epic Politics Man.
Epic Politics Man, of course, is legendary, right? Michael Shore. And now Jimmy Dore's Professor Weed. But you've been here on for like a decade or more, right?
No, a decade.
Yeah.
More than a decade.
More than a decade, Wes, and you still don't have one. And today we're talking about
I consider myself lucky.
Well, we might change that today.
After hearing all of those, I don't think he wants one now.
So today we're talking about the Russians, which is perfect to have the Wes on the show, right?
Because you want me to get upset.
No, I want you to take on the Russians and get the Ruskies all pissed, okay? So
the Red Menace.
Yeah. So no, I was thinking Wes, commie killer Clark.
No, because it's. I don't have a problem with communism per se.
Oh, that's the irony. It's the Russians you really dislike.
No. I don't really dislike the Russians. I dislike the people that are in charge there. That's all.
The Westinator?
I know. The
Don't
West
know.
Nah.
Seriously.
Take a bite out of this
Seriously.
Clark bar?
Yeah.
No. Just let's. Maybe we should,
Weapons of mass destruction.
I think people should tweet them at us at #TYT Live, and whichever one we like the most, that's it forever.
See, Johnny Pie's always thinking. All right, let's get started. We got a lot to get to, including Wes's anger. I'm kidding. I don't know if Wes is going to get angry. I'm totally
that angry
kidding.
today.
I know. Let's
He's
do
an
it.
amiable guy. Yeah, lots of big news. Let's start talking about ISIS, though. After weeks of uncertainty about how the United States and its international allies would deal with the increasingly bold and aggressive threat of ISIS in the Middle East, we now have a coalition, a core coalition of 10 states who say that they have some plan that's somewhat ill-defined at this point about how they're going to take down ISIS, or at the very least deconstruct it, using their language. Here is the president talking about that coalition.
There was unanimity over the last 2 days that ISIL poses a significant threat to NATO members. And there was a recognition that we have to take action. You can't contain an organization that is running roughshod through that much territory, causing that much havoc, displacing that many people, killing that many innocents, enslaving that many women. The goal has to be to dismantle them.
And so that is what they plan to do. As we said, there are 10 members of the core coalition at this point. They include the U.S., Britain, France, Germany, Canada, Australia, Turkey, Italy, Poland, and Denmark. But significantly, the group does not include any Arab nation and only one of Iraq's 6 neighbors, obviously limiting its ability to sort of directly influence what is going on in that region, aside from the U.S.'s ability to project force there.
Not surprisingly, after their airstrikes last week or 2 weeks ago on Libya, the United Arab Emirates has said, we're on board, let us know what you need. And then significantly today, of course, there was some evidence from the BBC and CNN that there is some cooperation happening between the United States and Iran, which on a show you weren't here, that Wes and I talked about a couple of weeks ago, that does ISIL, I guess that's what we're going with, or at least that's what the administration is going with, does the Islamic States, does their growth open the door to an ability on some level for the United States and Iran to work together, and that may have happened.
Well, that would be an excellent silver lining, if we can get a deal with Iran and get some sort of decent negotiations and deals going with them. Because of our joint enemy. You want to talk about an ironic twist there.
except that if you did any kind of formal cooperation with Iran, then you're going to exacerbate the Sunni-Shia split, because really this all came about. It's not just Islam that created this situation. What created the situation was that Sunnis were discriminated against for the past 5 or 6 years in Iraq.
That's right. So that leads to my skepticism about 2 things. One, that we're going to be effective. They swear up and down that the red line, which I think you have there, John, is that they're not going to have boots on the ground under any circumstance.
I hate that expression, boots on the ground. I'm so sick of hearing that in everything.
How come?
First of all, we already have people there.
Yeah.
And
But to be fair, they're not wearing boots.
they're wearing sneakers.
or slippers, I hear.
Yeah, Crocs in some cases.
So
Crocs on the ground.
Aquatic assault.
It's shorthand to say, you know what? Probably none of our people are going to get killed. But if you have jets flying over, dropping bombs on people, that's war. It's not just if you have a boot on the ground that you have war.
See, that's a really interesting point, because that all of a sudden we now have a new definition of war, which is enough people on the ground, because we already have 850 people on the ground,
Well,
right?
That's not counting the 350 who are headed over there. We're going to go well over 1,000.
So we're going to be over 1,000. We're bombing the living crap out of them, but none of that counts until some threshold of number of actual boots, on the actual ground.
5,000 on the ground at the same moment, I believe it is.
No, but we want to leave 10,000 behind, and we're going to in Afghanistan, and we say that doesn't count.
Hold on, 10,000 boots, is that 5,000 soldiers, or are we counting one soldier as a boot?
Well,
that might
considering the prevalence of IEDs, a lot of them amputees, and so they only count for half.
So just to finish that thought, I don't. If you don't have soldiers on the ground, you can bomb them all day long. I don't think it's going to work, right? And it might in some ways fire people up, right? It's because once you start dropping bombs, you're going to start hitting civilians. And once you start hitting civilians, you start losing the population.
Not just that, bombing's largely ineffective to produce the results you want. I mean, if you look back at NATO's bombing of the former Yugoslavia during the Kosovo conflict, they found that something like 80 to 90% of the strikes missed their targets.
Wow.
They thought they were blowing up all these Serb armored vehicles, and they weren't. They were just dummy vehicles that were put out there for camouflage.
And now ISIS has changed their tactics entirely. So they used to parade around in the SUVs and the things with the machine guns on the back and stuff. They're all down now. They're not doing that at all. They've melted into the population, so it's harder to see them from the sky. These guys are no dummies. And another scary turn here is they just went into Lebanon. Let's just mix it up a little bit. We're having fun in Iraq and Syria. Boom, let's go into Lebanon. Yeah. They go across the border, they behead somebody, right? And so I don't think we're going to be able to contain him. And then we say now he's got 3 Ds. What was it? Destroy and
dismantle.
Dismantle was today. Degrade, destroy, and dismantle, and decay. And deliver. Decimate.
Decimating would be good. That'd be a start.
Only want 3 PowerPoint slides.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have gone with that one.
Yeah. We're gonna put him down on social media.
Right.
We're
Yeah.
gonna be degrading you.
Yeah.
So just to provide a little bit of extra information, so as Wes was alluding to, like it seems ridiculous to talk about the boots on the ground symbolize war when we've conducted well over 100 airstrikes. It's not like one day they flew in a couple of planes to help out the Yazidis. This has been quite a number of airstrikes. In terms of the long-term strategy that the core coalition is apparently going to be engaged in, David Cameron, the Prime Minister of the UK, said it's a combination of intelligent politics, diplomatic pressure, long-term engagement, a comprehensive plan, as well as the potential for military or other aggressive action. And other high-placed political players in that coalition have said that a lot of it is going to be trying to freeze out their assets, put economic pressure on ISIL as well, make it harder for them to fundraise internationally.
But they do have oil, and people will buy oil. So they will smuggle it, et cetera, because they've now captured places that have some degree of oil in them. They have some degree of cash because of the banks that they captured. So this leads to my second bit of skepticism here, which is that let's say we win. God knows what that means, right? And we degrade, we destroy.
Dismantle, degrade, destroy,
right.
Yeah.
I like degrade. I'm with you. It's so funny. Like, what are we gonna do? Give him a dirty sketch?
Yeah.
That's the 4th D. And then for al-Baghdadi, boom.
Yeah. Photoshop nude photos of him, release them online.
Boom. Okay. So anyway. Okay, let's say we do it, and then we've got a huge hole there. Okay, now the Shia will then be more powerful, which then they might use to degrade and do all the things to the Sunnis in Iraq, as they were doing the last 5 or 6 years. And then Assad gets more powerful. He's the dictator. He stays in power in Syria. And then what happens? I mean, it's endless. It's literally endless. We're going to fight and fight and fight
until the next bloodthirsty guy takes over and just wipes him out.
Yeah.
And I think
so why shouldn't we be that bloodthirsty guy?
Well,
yeah,
no,
thing.
Why should we be that?
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
The real threat from ISIL is all the Westerners fighting that can come back. However, if we to look at our UN obligations, there's clearly genocide being committed over there.
Yeah.
So really, every member state in the United Nations should be involved in this.
By the way, in terms of, I mean, every week it seems like we talk a little bit about where they might spread to next, and there is some early information coming from a Reuters interview with an anonymous member of Ansar Beit al-Makdi, which is one of the leading militant groups in Egypt right now that's fighting against their government, saying that they are now communicating online with ISIS. They're receiving information about how to conduct their operations and things like that. And so at least in terms of communication and sort of support in that way, ISIS has now moved into Egypt as well.
No, this is scary stuff, man. Once I saw they crossed the Lebanese border, and they have support now within Saudi Arabia because of the Wahhabis in Saudi Arabia who started this mess in the first place on ideological grounds.
I totally agree with that.
Right.
Totally agree with that.
So we have got an international disaster on our hands.
A crisis.
Yeah, literally, right? And in this case, I think the bombings might not really help. I mean, I think, look, they help in the short run. That's why I was in favor of the bombings on Mount Sinjar to help rescue the Yazidi. It had a very specific, limited goal. It achieved that goal. It saved those people from genocide, okay? Now, once you get beyond that, now we've done 100 bombings. I don't think that's the right way to go. Because we're going to bomb them. Assad's going to get more powerful in Syria. But even so, I think they're like that character in Star Trek where you fire the phasers at him and he only gets stronger, right? And,
I'm not familiar with that.
But it's from the original.
Florida?
It's from the original series. I don't know. Anyway,
And just made a 1965 reference.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I play devil's advocate?
Yeah.
One thing that it could help in?
Yeah.
I mean, as we've talked about, the problem so far in Egypt predominantly is that the Egyptian army is not willing to stand up to them. They still, by all accounts, outnumber them, and they are very well armed as a combination of both the military equipment that they had previously, the Iraqi army, and stuff that we had left behind. It's that they're not fighting them. It's that they're scared of them. They're worried about what might happen if they're in that town when ISIS takes over. But now that they have the U.S. being willing to fight back, it makes it a little bit easier to see them not as this all-powerful behemoth that can't be stopped, and now it's someone that's been punched right in the nose by the U.S. Maybe that could inspire Egyptian troops to actually stand up to them the next time.
Iraqi troops.
What am I saying?
You keep saying Egyptian
Iraqi,
troops.
sorry.
No, the Egyptians, believe me, they'll stand up.
Yeah, move them up. No, but the
Egyptian
Iraqi troops,
military
that's
is
what I'm
pretty
saying. It
serious.
could be a morale booster that allows them to actually fight their own war, which they probably, if it was some sort of pitched battle between the two, they could probably win. They haven't been willing to engage in it. They might once they see the U.S. supporting them and other countries.
So finally, we come back to this incredibly ironic spot where we're now kind of rooting for people like General Sisi in Egypt, who is basically a strongman. You can call him a couple of different words.
Mass murderer would be another.
And another D word is dictator. In essence, that's basically what he is, because Muslim Brotherhood won the election and he just got rid of them and won't let them run in any further elections. So, but now we're relieved. We're so relieved that at least General Sisi has shored up Egypt, right, with his military. So what we're rooting for is pre-Arab Spring, when we now almost rooting for democracy. Yeah, we didn't really mean that. Let's bring back the dictators.
Right. I mean, bring back the dictators bring back literally the dictator in Iraq. Bring back Saddam Hussein.
Oh, somebody's going to say it.
Yeah.
That's such a, I swear to God, mark my words here.
Where is that guy now?
At some point, I don't mean a liberal, I don't mean it's going to be a neocon who's going to be like, we need a strong man.
Right.
Maybe somebody like Saddam Hussein. I'm going to be like, oh,
But
for Christ's sake.
But like a strong man, but a Sunni to be in charge, exactly. Right, And
if only we could have a strong man Sunni back in Iraq.
a couple points I want to make. John, you have one of them. You have the BBC report on the Ayatollah, right?
Yeah, I believe that's graphic 20. If you want to go
All right, so let's see that real quick, because that is a tiny bit of, we mentioned earlier, good news, but we weren't just making it up. Iran supreme leaders approved cooperation with the U.S. as part of the fight against Islamic State. Ayatollah Khamenei has authorized his top commander to coordinate military operations with the U.S., Iraqi, and Kurdish forces continuing. Oh, that's the whole thing, sorry. So, and that's from the BBC. So that's encouraging. And Wes, is that information public? The thing you told me that we already had a plane land there?
Yeah, no, it's been on the news.
Yeah,
but that was an accident.
I got it, but nonetheless, but an accident that could never have happened, that wouldn't have happened 2 months ago.
Might have happened 2 months ago.
Wouldn't have happened 2 years ago. Give me something.
20 years ago, it wouldn't have happened.
200 years ago, would not have happened.
No way it would have happened.
And that was a U.S. plane landing with U.S. troops in Tehran, but it was
I don't know if it was troops.
Oh, okay. Well,
It could have been advisors.
Okay, sorry.
There's one
Boots on the ground.
Yeah, were they?
The one thing is for sure, they were not wearing boots.
They were not wearing boots. And then
Short heels.
on the show a couple of weeks ago, I got a rather stern tweet, but the show I was just speculating, and I think it was certainly legitimate speculation. Now we have an answer. I don't think you did the story about them governing yesterday, did you?
No, I didn't get to it, no.
So let's just mention it incredibly quickly, because I had talked about, hey, can these guys govern? Wes, you were here for one of those discussions too. And I wondered whether they could. I was dubious, but I didn't think it was impossible, and it turns out the answer might well be yes. A Reuters story yesterday, the second paragraph reads, the group famous for its beheadings, crucifixions, and mass executions provides electricity and water, pays salaries, controls traffic, and runs nearly everything from bakeries and banks to schools, courts, and mosques. And this was specifically talking about a Syrian town that they had took over, that they have taken over, that they control, and they're governing it. Mm-hmm. They're running everything. People are getting stuff done, and people who live in that town who were neither supportive nor against them, but just mainly stayed silent and thought, okay, well, I'm not going to fight these guys. The town is Raqqa, in Syria, and these people were generally the ones interviewed in this story. Were all like, they're getting it done.
Yeah,
they even had a consumer protection board.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
How hard was it for us to get one?
I know. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The Republicans here are fighting it. And I read about that. They said if this town is a Raqqa, don't come a Naka.
Oh God,
that's a good one. Nailed it.
Okay. I'm pretty sure we're the only show that's done a story on the Islamic State that has mentioned genocide and the Dirty Sanchez in the same segment.
Well,
it's probably for
yes, and PBS.
Right, totally, yeah.
Okay, why don't we turn to a slightly different angle on this? Still ISIS related, though. The Five was talking about an individual named Don Morgan, who was interviewed this week by NBC News. Now, he's a 44-year-old American citizen who converted to Islam back in 2008. Earlier this year, he was interested in joining up with ISIS and helping them to carry out their mission over in Syria. He was not accepted, unfortunately. They didn't want him to be a part of it. But Eric Bolling of The Five has a very interesting view on what this represents in terms of how we approach ISIS, how we deal with them in the future, and the mistakes that Obama has made.
They don't want to call it a terror cell, but three jihadis come from the same town in Minnesota. Two of them went to high school together. We have Major Nidal Hassan. You have the Tsarnaev brothers. They're coming from here. They're coming from within, and they're killing us. I think he should be charged with treason. Better yet, send him to Gitmo and waterboard the hell out of him until he starts talking about what he knows. Waterboard the rest. We had a way of dealing with terrorists for a while. We decided that wasn't going to be nice enough to terrorists, so we stopped doing it, and look what happened. It's starting to sprout up again. We have dead Americans. We have beheaded Americans.
That is not why we stopped waterboarding them, but that's an
And that is
interesting
not why
interpretation.
we have dead Americans and beheaded Americans.
Exactly.
Yeah, the Islamic State got together and they're like, all right, after the beheadings that we do, what should we consider? Wait, what are they doing down in Guantanamo? What's the latest tactics, right? Look, these guys are willing to die ad nauseum, right? They're not worried about getting captured and what kind of waterboarding we might or what might not do in Guantanamo. In fact, they use Guantanamo for propaganda purposes to this day. In fact, when they beheaded the two American journalists, they dressed them up in orange jumpsuits so they looked like detainees at Guantanamo, saying this is strike back for Guantanamo for the torture that you already did. It's not like this al-Baghdadi, the leader of the Islamic State, is going to be like, ooh, what if they waterboard me in Guantanamo? It is absurd. And the Tsarnaev brothers, nobody had even heard of Islamic State when the Tsarnaev brothers did something that had nothing to do with the Islamic State.
And if they waterboard this American, they're going to find he doesn't know anything.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
I mean, you can tell by looking at the guy, you're not going to get any secrets out of him.
John said the whole story was they rejected him.
Yeah.
He couldn't get into the Islamic State. He went down to try to get into Syria and couldn't figure out how to get into Syria. What the hell are you going to find out from the guy?
It's actually kind of hard to get into Syria.
It doesn't matter how many times we repeat things to guys like Eric Bolling. Like, it doesn't work, right? We already know it doesn't work. That's not, first of all, here's one way you might find anything. Ask him, right? That's step one. Interrogate him professionally. But guys like this continue to go on TV and pretend that there is this cause and effect. I mean, Wes will know better, but let's take...
Why? I haven't tortured anybody.
So you say. Whatever you say.
What happens at a black site stays at a black site.
No, but I mean as knowing more about military history. But I'll just go to World War II, and the forgotten part of World War II, since we focus so much on the work that we did, which was fantastic in World War II, was the giant other war that happened on the Eastern Front between Germany and the Soviet Union. Here's what they didn't do. Treat each other's prisoners well. Here's what they did. Mass shootings on both sides. It didn't stop either side from doing it. That's not how things work. Am I wrong? Like, Germany didn't continue to execute Soviet prisoners they caught because they thought the Soviets were executing the German prisoners. It's just how they went about business.
It's just
being
what they
tough,
did.
right? It's just war, and as we all know, ISIS, these guys are dangerous. And they have no moral code or not a moral code that we can relate to in any way. Their moral code is very different, and we find universally reprehensible. Yeah. And simply being tough with the ones tougher and torturing the ones we catch is in absolutely no way going to stop them, but it will make, once again, everybody on the planet hate us.
But torturing, not just torturing the ones we catch, torturing the ones who couldn't get in.
Right, exactly.
that still live here.
Yeah.
Right. So, look, that leads to one of my favorite stories of all time, which is when we caught Nazis, we brought them to Alabama in the middle of the war. Now, we did not torture them. We did not shoot them on sight, right? We didn't dig shallow graves, etc. We actually gave them steak dinners and played ping pong with them. You know why? Because we liked the Nazis? No. But because we wanted their information. And you know what happened? It worked. They would relax and they would think, well, this is my friend Bob that I'm playing ping pong with in the middle of Alabama. Look, I'm in Sweet Home Alabama, right? And they'd be like, all right, here's our code. Here, this is how you break our code. And we got absolutely critical information that helped us defeat the Nazis because we were smart. We didn't want to give them steak dinners. They're frickin' Nazis, right? But it worked. It worked. Now, if you do that, the Bill O'Reillys and the Bowlings will come on air and go nuts. When we released innocent Uyghurs from Guantanamo that had done nothing against us, Fox News found a picture of them swimming in an island that we had banished them to. They're like, now they're swimming. Now they're swimming. Right? These idiots would have cost us critical information if they were around in World War II. Right? Now, finally, on this Bowling, idea that, well, it must be cause and effect. We stopped torturing, and now we've got Islamic State running roughshod throughout the Middle East, right? Now, to be fair to them, the Seahawks won the Super Bowl, and afterwards, Islamic State runs roughshod, right? And so I don't know if it was, Russell Wilson. I don't know if it was that thug, that's Richard Sherman.
Oh, Richard Sherman, right? Yeah. The dangerous thug, Richard Sherman.
Oh,
right.
You know what it was? When the Seahawks and Marshawn Lynch specifically went into beast mode, Islamic State went into beast mode. If we would just stop the Seahawks from winning the Super Bowl, we could go back to winning this war.
You know what's interesting also, just to go back to the Nazis and relate it to the Seahawks, is that Richard Sherman and Marshawn Lynch's grandfather or great-grandfather wouldn't have been able to eat at that same restaurant where we were giving the steaks to the Nazis.
Oh, yeah.
That's how great and awesome we were.
Yeah, one of the first radio shows I ever did was in Fairfax, Virginia, public access radio. And I'm fairly certain that literally no one was listening. Sure. Okay. And I remember a Jesse Jackson speech about how his father came back from the war. He said, my father came back from the war. And then had to sit in the back of the bus. And I think it was the back of a train at the time. And he's like, and the captured Germans, the fucking Nazis, were at the front of the train. And the guys who helped beat the Nazis, the black American soldiers, were in the back of the train.
Yeah, and the steak dinner analogy is literally true. I mean, they'd bring Nazis and bring them and have dinner with them and take them into restaurants and diners in Alabama and Mississippi where they were kept in prison, the loosest prison in the world. And of course, this being the 1940s, of course, the black people who lived there weren't able to go to those same restaurants. Many of them, like Jesse Jackson's father, many of them former soldiers.
And a little bit more recent history, I saw, obviously, there's been a couple of beheadings, obviously, from ISIS recently, and Fox has held no punches in terms of blaming Obama directly for them dying. House resolution to condemn them over just trading for prisoners, let alone people who actually die over there. They looked back at some of the beheadings that happened under Bush. Fox barely even mentioned Bush's name, never even came close to blaming him for it, obviously. So I guess it depends on what party affiliation you have when Americans' heads are getting cut off. But anyway, one other, maybe this is good news, I guess. The bucket challenge has faded somewhat from the public eye, but there's a new version of it sweeping across the Arab world. It is the ISIS bucket challenge. Take a look at this video and you'll get an idea of what it's about. So you see there one of the ISIS flags being burned. It was started last weekend by three young Lebanese men. They're calling it the hashtag Burn ISIS Flag Challenge, and they're hoping for people in the region to burn the flag to show their opposition to ISIS and its policies.
And don't show your face when you burn the flag.
Yes. Whatever you do.
So that's good. Did you guys get the ISIS, the anti-ISIS jokes?
No.
Did you guys get any of that?
I didn't see that.
Okay. He did them. Arthur did them, but it would be nice to have those if we.
He did do them. Okay.
Yeah, he did. Do you have them? You see there any tweets?
All right, Edwin, go check with Arthur while we keep talking.
Because, again, more evidence that, again, it seems, as always with media coverage, when they focus on something, and this is certainly a big story and should be focused on, you sense that it's taking over the entire region and there's nothing standing up against it. We just found some stuff through a Huffington Post article about sort of an effort to make fun of ISIS and how many people there are in the Mideast who are doing that, one of whom, an Iraqi economics expert here who appears to have stolen quite liberally from the Young Turks, so it's worth mentioning. We'll get to that.
Oh, okay, all right. So on this ISIS bucket challenge, I love it. Now, there's a couple of issues. Some of the people in the Lebanese government are very concerned that it's going to cause sectarian strife, okay? So they say the sternest punishment must be meted out for the flag burners for their insult to the Islamic religion and its symbols. Now, the reason they say that is not because they're in favor of ISIS, but because the Shahada is in the flag. So what you see, the Arabic writing there, is one of the most sacred things in Islam when you recite that there is only one God and his prophet is Muhammad. Okay, so you're also kind of burning that as you burn the ISIS flag. So they're like, one, it could lead to sectarian strife. Two, you know how touchy Muslims are, right?
Yes.
So you burn that, and people are like, oh my God, I'm going to behead you, and I'm on your side. So, but the reason I love it is because they're standing up to these guys, right? And it appears to be people who are, my understanding and reading of the several articles that I read is that they're secular, younger guys in the Middle East saying, screw these guys. We're not with these guys. They don't represent Islam. They don't get to appropriate Islamic symbols and language like that. And we're not with them. I mean, Sean Hannity should be creaming in his pants over this, right? Because every night he's like, why don't they denounce them? Why don't they denounce them? They're burning their flag. You should be ecstatic.
Well, why don't they denounce them? Degrade, denounce, dehumanize, demoralize,
and divorce.
And divorce.
Your mic would have been cut after the first second, unfortunately. Yeah.
So there is some comedy, which is good. So let me do that real quick. Let me start with Graphic 25 because you mentioned Lebanon, and before you put it up, there's it's described as an Onion-style site in Lebanon, which already amuses me because whatever, I'm ignorant. I think only Americans do everything. So I'm always stunned when they're like, oh, look, there's a funny person in Lebanon. Like, I get it. I'm an asshole. But I also think I'm probably not alone, and it's possible that some other... So
the Onion site in Lebanon is called the shawarma.com.
The shawarma.com. Mm-hmm. So anyway, the idea is, and again, as you mentioned, ISIS has staged incursions there. One news site joked that the militants would be unable to know what to do when they got into Lebanon. Let's see, Graphic 25. That they would take over, but we do not yet understand the logic of Lebanon. I mean, who the fuck do we overthrow around here? Because Lebanon has such a legendarily complex government. Then there was a hashtag, like the way they do with the Midnight Show here. Yeah. There was a hashtag of ISIS movies. And Amro Ali wrote this. This is Graphic 21. We'll start with this one. We'll just go 21, 22, 23. Girls just want to have fundamentalism. ISIS movies. Not bad.
It's more of a song.
It's more of a song, but it's still, I get it. I wouldn't mind posting that. Go to 22.
That's funny on two grounds. Kill Bill, kill everyone. Also, the guy who wrote it looks like Amir, one of our producers.
It looks exactly like Amir.
And then 23. That's fine too. It's just it's Zalit's from Hassan, which is funny. Then there was also this and another online satire. Twitter's mocked up a mock-up of a American magazine, Jihadi Vogue. Why khaki is back. 8 reasons why mustaches are out.
Oh, that's funny. They don't go with the mustache. What's up with that? Is that like some sort of Che Guevara look?
Neck beards.
Make your buddies feel special. Anyway, that's good stuff. So I liked Jihadi Vogue. And then finally, there was this, which was from, well, we'll just put up the tweet there below, the Baghdadi's choice, right? Because that's when he let the watch slip that he was wearing this fancy watch. Except that exact graphic, Baghdadi's choice, which you'll see here, he acts like he thought of it, is taken directly from you, Jank, a couple of weeks ago, and Ali made this graphic.
Yeah, wow. And now it's spreading throughout the Middle East.
Except
That's super cool.
except go back to graphic 26. They blacked out the TYT part.
That's all right. I mean, they shouldn't. Next time you should keep the Young Turks in there. But that's kind of cool.
But nonetheless, that whole idea, that Baghdadi's choice, that's good stuff. That's good comedy.
Yeah. And of course, as with all fundamentalists and extremists, massive hypocrite. In the middle of a sermon, al-Baghdadi flashes his bling. It was we couldn't tell if it was a Rolex or some other $15,000 watch. I love that after the show, somebody tweeted to us and said, now, to be fair, he might have just taken that off a dead person.
A lot of Iraqi army recruits have watches like that, actually.
Yeah. Beheaded men don't tell time. So that's the old saying.
Yeah.
Okay, do you want to push through to this before we take our first break? The last sort of ISIS-related story?
No. So we got to take a break, guys. When we come back, I know we've done a lot of ISIS, but it's a chilling documentary from the New York Times. It's just amazing. We're going to talk about that. We'll go to Ukraine. We got to get to Bob McDonald. So there's great stuff ahead. Come right back. That was a segment from hour one of the show.
Now for the better hour, the second hour.
Drums. You can get the whole show on TYTnetwork.com. Hey, Young Turks. Anna, Ben, Wes, Taros, and myself. Just one quick tweet here. No more donations. That's his handle. Notices that Ben went for a costume change in the second hour.
I did. I went for an hour 2 outfit.
Okay, nice. And he's like, look, just changing up the power panel dynamic.
That's right.
That's exactly right, okay? Mr. No More Donations, you're right. Member shout-outs are Jonathan Fabry, member number... Jonathan, yes.
That might be a typo.
Yeah. It might be, but it might not be. Have you seen all of our member names? They're from all over the world. So
that's true.
Half of them are getting invaded by Putin, and half of them are getting invaded by ISIS. And he's member number 1312, and member number 3086 is Andrew Rawls. So thank you guys. TYTworld.com for member meetups happening Saturday in Detroit, Monday in Orlando, Tuesday in New Orleans. Oh, we're supposed to talk about Squarespace. Okay. And I never got the sheet, of course. Okay. Anyways. So everybody knows we're doing a campaign with Squarespace. If you're watching the show, you can't help but see one of our ads about Squarespace. If you're going to build a website, you're going to do a portfolio, etc., you do it through squarespace.com/TYT, so you can get 14-day free trial, 10% off, yada yada, right? So I did Django Unchained. That's my website, okay? And I did it just to see how easy it was, and it turned out to be fairly easy. I'm not good with tech. So I was like, wait, I drag? Oh, and I drop it. Oh, there it is. Whoa, okay. But I had fun with it. You know why? Because I started doing gripes. So I put my old videos where I either we literally run the thing, Django Unchained, I get angry, and the old one where I yell at Michael with the USA Today sucks balls and all that stuff. But then I started doing fun things, like I did a list, things that pissed me off. I think it was number 5 was, I can't remember if it was number 1 or number 5. Check out DjangoUnchained.com. Not having my bread buttered when I go to eat breakfast.
Toast. You mean not having
toast, yeah.
And worse is the request for it, and then they just bring you the butter, and it's fucking hard.
Yeah, yeah.
Fuck that.
And they're like, we don't bread the but okay, we've been over this a million times.
Do you have butter? Do you have butter?
Okay,
you have a
you
toaster?
made an unbelievably fancy omelet.
Right.
You couldn't do this?
Right, just do this, please. Please don't bring me a fucking hard wrapper and then bring me toast that came out of the toaster 2.5 minutes early.
Yeah, okay, so you can tell we're dicks about that.
It's total dick. And then you find a place that'll do it, and like I'll go there forever.
Yeah, that's right. So now we're asking you guys to do your websites, and every Friday we're going to judge different categories. Like one that's coming up is LMAO, so funny websites, right? Now you can do your own for your own purposes, right? So, but we're going to put them in different categories. So if you want to be involved in that, you go to hashtag TYTSQSP for Squarespace, right? Hashtag TYTSQSP. So you send us your website that you did with squarespace.com/TYT to that, and then boom, there it is. And then we'll get to judge it, and it'll be fun. So there's a Wasikterland category for most, dramatic, interesting, Wasikterish website. Okay, so every Friday Anna's going to be a judge. I'm going to be a judge. Bro Tip is a judge, which is questionable.
That is questionable.
Okay, but Bro Tip is master of Squarespace. That's why he did whatistyt.com. Okay, so that's our cool website that explains what the show is. Always thinking. Okay. So anyway, everybody check that out, squarespace.com/TYT, and be part of the contest. I want because I want to be Simon Cowell.
Yeah.
So that's, I'm gonna be like, oh, I do declare. I don't think he talks that way.
Oh no, he does. That's exact. That's dead on.
This site is pathetic. Totally unacceptable. Anyway, we'll have fun. All right. Check that out. Next.
All right.
Okay. I like the Ben Mankiewicz eye rub. All right, forward.
Okay. Floyd Mayweather is facing a civil lawsuit that has been filed by his former fiancée, Shoutouts Jackson. Now, she is alleging in the civil lawsuit that he was both physically and verbally abusive, and she's also alleging that he invaded her privacy by posting a picture of the ultrasound that she had taken when she was pregnant with their twins, putting it on Twitter, and then basically letting the world know that she terminated the pregnancy. Now, he has faced some issues for domestic violence in the past. In fact, he served some time behind bars as a result of that. According to the Associated Press, Mayweather served 2 months in jail in 2012 after pleading guilty to reduced domestic battery charges stemming from a hair-pulling, arm-twisting attack on his former girlfriend, Josie Harris, while 2 of their 3 children watched. Now, Shoutouts Jackson is claiming that similar abuse took place while she was in a 7-year relationship with him. The tweet was sent. That has been confirmed. Gloria Allred did a press conference with her, and they presented the case that they are going to pursue against him. And she says that, hey, you know what? There was arm twisting. There was a lot of manipulation going on. She says that she didn't want to leave Los Angeles and go live with him in Vegas at one point, and he became abusive over that. She also claims, and remember, these are all allegations. They have not been proven yet, but she's also claiming that he had pointed a gun at her toe and said that he would shoot one of her toes until she gave him the engagement ring back. Mm-hmm. So there were threatening actions taken against her as well.
That's an awfully specific threat, right?
Your toe.
Right.
Yeah, that also makes me just like 100% believe that.
Yeah. If you're going to make up charges against somebody, be really, really specific.
Yeah, that's right.
It's very convincing. So in this case, the reason, just on what I know from the public record, I tend to think that she might have a case, and of course they'll adjudicate that. It's going to court. That's in civil litigation here. Is that I've read up on the history of Floyd Mayweather, and it's a fairly brutal one. I don't mean inside the ring. Almost every girlfriend he's had over the last 10 years or longer has at some point accused him of domestic violence. Now, a lot of those wind up retracting later. Why they retract is a very open question. The guy is super rich.
He made $105 million last year. Highest paid athlete in the world last year, according to Forbes, with earnings of $105 million. So we don't know whether he paid them off, but it seems like you could. If you had a person who made $105 million would be capable of paying people off.
You know, so here we have a guy who makes money with his fists. That cuts 2 ways. One, violence has worked for him. That's how he makes a living, and a very, very good one. But the other part is that, look, your hands are, other than the fact that it's assault and domestic violence and horrible if you did it, right? Maybe every one of your girlfriends is lying, okay, at some point.
I mean, he pled guilty to one.
Yeah, and we know that you went to jail for one, right?
Right.
But especially your hands, I mean, I don't want to get overly dramatic with the lethal weapons and stuff like that, but you know how to hit people in a very, very dangerous way. You'd think you'd be more careful. But it's the same thing that happens in a lot of these circumstances. Once you have all this, not just money, but in this case, fame, you start to think you're above the law because everybody makes excuse for you because everybody wants you to fight next time so that they could all make millions of dollars.
Yeah, just be a jerk to women. Don't hit them, like if you're Floyd Mayweather. You know, just go have an affair, be a jerk, be unpleasant, but don't touch them. Don't ball up your fist. Don't twist Josie Harris's arm.
Don't tweet pictures of the ultrasound.
Don't tweet pictures of ultrasounds after somebody goes through the harrowing choice of terminating a pregnancy. Don't do these things. They're horrible things.
And then,
just don't call somebody back, and you'll feel like a man.
Yeah. Don't celebrities complain about women who don't get abortions? Oh, they're just trying to have my baby for the money. right?
Yeah, I mean,
and then now he turns around and does, I don't know what their private situation was, and I feel horrible that we even know about it.
Right,
We don't
but
know about invasion of privacy.
He's trying to control her. That's what the fists are. That's what the thing is. He's trying to control her. He wants
And
to
I've
control
read quotes about how he has insinuated that his girlfriends are his property.
Yeah. He's a bad dude. It would appear, allegedly, that he's a really bad dude.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. An antivirus company known as Avast has done a survey to see how often people snoop through their significant other's smartphones. Now, they surveyed 9,202 people, so keep in mind that this has to do with self-reporting. So some people might lie about what they actually do, but they found that there is a significant number of people out there that like to snoop through their significant other's smartphones. To give you some numbers, it's nearly 1 in 5 men and 1 in 4 women. These are people who do it. Now, their reasons for why they do it differ. Men do it for different reasons, women do it for different reasons, although I would make an argument that their options when it comes to answering these questions are very similar. So you can actually group these together.
There wasn't that big a difference. Give them the numbers and I think you'll see. Yeah.
Okay, so the number one reason men said they snooped, about 26%, was because they suspected their partner was cheating on them. Another 24% said they did it because they are simply nosy, and 12% said they wanted to catch their significant other in a lie. When it comes to women, on the other hand, they were motivated more by curiosity. 30% said they snooped because they are nosy. Only 21% suspected that their significant other was cheating, and 14% wanted to catch that person in a lie.
So it comes to like 65% of women for those 3 categories, or 62% of men. Those categories are all exactly the same. No one snoops through it because they're nosy. You're nosy because you want to know what they're doing behind your back.
Yeah.
That's why you would do it in the first place. I am going to make a solid prediction here that exactly 50% of the panel has at some point snooped another person's cell phone. I'm going to change it to 75%, but with a very specific caveat that one person on the panel has not done it in more than a decade.
Okay.
All right.
Okay,
Wes,
wow, that was a very specific.
Wes has never looked at another person's cell phone.
I don't care.
Right, doesn't care, never
Doesn't
done
care.
it. That's a no-brainer.
Okay,
That's a no-brainer.
you should have stuck with the 50%. I have never looked through.
That was my initial thought. My only thought was that maybe, like back in the day, like maybe around 2000, but we didn't even know to do it then. There weren't texts then.
No. Look, I'm on this issue. I'm not a hypocrite. Okay, I hate invasions of privacy. I've hated it since I was a kid. I found my sister's diary under her bed, and we used to fight all the time. And I was like, I found my sister's diary. I'm like, I can't, and I put it back. Right. And so I didn't look at the Aaron Andrews picture. I hated the hacker who released the nude photos, although I accidentally wound up looking at them.
I didn't look at any of them, I will say.
Yeah, and there's a real story that I've told on the show as to why it was partly accident. And the NSA hacking on it and spying in on us, I hate it. Look, don't do it. Okay, now, so I'm guessing you guys have done it.
Yeah, I did it. There was a very specific person to whom I did it.
10 years ago.
No, like 5. Like
Days ago.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. It was a Monday. It was last Monday, right? And no, I mean the degree to which I was getting lied to was so obvious. Like it was beyond obvious.
But then, so you didn't need to look. You see my point?
No, totally. No. And it was part of what led to ending that relationship, and not that the lie had happened, because when the lie was asked, when forgiveness was asked for the lie, I was like, and it was a date with someone. I was like, yeah, all right, okay, I got it. I don't care. It turned out I'm like you. I'm like, I don't actually care. But I was like, what kind of mania am I in that I just did this? Because I know I've had it looked through many times, and it's horrible, and I hate it. So
I've had it looked through, and my email looked through before, and that's, to me, once I got divorced, it was like that was grounds for breaking up with someone instantly.
Yeah, right.
Like no anything. You read my text, you go through my emails. See you later.
So there's some irony there, because like the greatest thing I've ever done is not cheat on my wife, because it's such peace of mind. Like, oh, have at it, Hoss. Like I hate it in principle, but I'm like, I get literally hundreds of emails every day, right? I'm like, you're gonna look. We're gonna look through that. Have at it, Hoss. And by the way, you will A, find absolutely nothing, so I feel great, and B, you will realize after like at most 2 days, oh my God, this guy leads such a boring life. I'm never going to look at that again.
We've talked about this. The ability now that is so comforting to be able to say at a restaurant that when you're with the person you're with, and leave your phone on the table as you go to the bathroom or wherever. It's the greatest thing in the world. It's the greatest thing in the world. Yeah.
No,
have at it, but please don't.
Anna, have you looked?
I mean, I'm a woman, so of course. I spy. No, I don't look. I really don't.
You've never looked?
No, part of the reason why I don't look is because I know that there will be something that I don't want to see.
That's
right? And so I don't want to see it, right? I like ignorance in some cases. Ignorance is bliss in some cases.
But also, what you do with the information, you don't want to see it. You won't have a full picture. You'll see something you don't like. It'll make you crazy probably for nothing.
There are a number of different reasons. First of all, I value my privacy.
Right.
I wouldn't want anyone looking through my shit, so I'm not going to look through his stuff under any circumstance, regardless, right? I don't want to see something that I don't want to see. And also, guys are notoriously bad at covering their tracks. So if he's cheating, I'm going to find out about it sometime in the future, and then I'll deal with it then. Okay? I don't want to be the bad guy who goes through his stuff and figures it out that way.
But I'm going to do a caveat. Let's see if I'm right about this. You did look once in your life.
Well, here's the thing. By the time
Okay, here we go.
No. But keep in mind, I've had 2 serious relationships, right? My very first relationship was when I was a teenager, and we didn't have access to smartphones, so I couldn't look through it. That was probably the time in my life where I was likely to do it. My 7-year relationship never went through his stuff ever, ever. So no, I haven't. And then I'm in a new relationship. I'm not going to look through his stuff.
But there was a but in there somewhere, no? So you've never, ever done it?
No.
Okay, all right.
And by the way,
I'm the only bad guy on the panel.
When shady stuff has happened, I found out about it, but not through snooping in on their
You don't need
technology.
to snoop. And when looking at some of these people's answers, to catch them in a lie. Well, if you know they're lying, just break up with them.
Yeah.
It's not like a court case.
Also,
they don't have to pay a
catch them in
penalty.
lie. I said this in the meeting this morning. There's 1,000 reasons to lie. 583 of those reasons are okay. We're not supposed to teach this to our kids, but there are lies all the time. That are okay. I was having a discussion with a friend of mine about, talking about problems in his marriage and how he wanted to express himself. He's like, I just need to understand, she just needs to understand I'm just expressing myself. And I told him, and maybe this comes out of therapy, that you don't need to express yourself. That's a horseshit way. That's a Rush Limbaugh thing to say. Hey, I'm just saying it because people want, people are afraid to say it. I'm just being honest. We don't express ourselves all the time. Every time somebody says something I think is dumb, I don't say, that was dumb.
Wes,
I'm just expressing myself.
Dumb, Wes.
Wes, you're an idiot. You don't smell good. Now I'm making stuff up. You look like an idiot today. That's a terrible outfit. You don't express yourself that way. We all the time leave stuff out, and conversely, we lie sometimes because it's better. It's better for you, and it's better for them.
It makes the world run.
Right, it makes the world run.
This is such an epidemic. I don't know if you guys have seen this Vine. You guys aren't big on Vine, but there's famous ones, and this one is labeled, "When you realize you left your phone at your girl's house."
That's really funny. That had to be longer than 6 seconds. Okay. And look, part of the reason I have a peace of mind is because I was in relationships before where I did lie and I did cheat. And so I know how to do it. I'm very good at covering my tracks. But it's a giant pain in the ass because you got to drive like that. You got to never leave your phone behind, whether you're at girlfriend's house or at the restaurant.
And eventually you'll get caught.
If you do it long enough, you'll get caught.
And you live life completely paranoid about every moment. So it's not.
How about spending some time trying to satisfy your woman?
How about that? Okay.
Overrated.
Not gonna work anymore.
Not gonna work.
Oh my God.
Fair point.
All right. Moving on. A man in Mumbai has been granted a divorce after he claimed that his wife had an insatiable appetite for sex and drove him absolutely crazy. Now, he also said that she was very rude to him and she would demand sex even when he was extremely sick. According to reports and the Times of India, the man in his petition told the court that she was showing an excessive and insatiable desire for sex and harassed him since their marriage in April of 2012. Due to the respondents, the wife's non-appearance before the court, the petitioner's or the husband's evidence remains unchallenged on record. Hence, the court has no option but to accept his evidence as it is, and he is entitled to a decree of divorce as prayed.
Okay, I love this story. I think it's hilarious. And this guy, he keeps complaining. Like, he's like, look, man, I had a stomach issue, went to the hospital, and then came back. The bitch still wanted sex. Okay, she would not let up.
He had his appendix removed, right? And she still wanted sex. Like, right after the surgery, she's like, let's do it.
Yeah, that's exactly what should happen.
Yeah.
She never turned down sex.
No. Like, she's now single. If I was single, I'd be on my first flight to India.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. What's the age difference between them? Maybe he's like some 50-year-old dude, and she's like 23. I mean, this is...
throwing 50 around, so...
All right, 47.
Okay, but I have a question. So if you're in a marriage where, let's say, the guy has an insatiable appetite for sex, and the woman's like, I don't want it. Like, would you have the same kind of reaction? You know what I mean?
No, I would hate that story. No, he's wrong. He's in the wrong here. Okay.
No, he's not.
Of course he's in the wrong.
He's not in the wrong.
No.
If he feels like, first of all, he also complains about her being abusive in other ways. Let me give you...
She's probably abusive because
Yeah.
he's not...
Oh, you guys are full of shit.
You guys are crazy.
Yeah, you guys are
No,
insane.
if he doesn't want to have sex, and she's like, I want to bone like 3 times a day, like they're not a good match. He also alleged that she administered him medicine and forced him to consume liquor. She used to force
She
him.
sounds
She
awesome.
forced him to consume liquor.
She's
Sounds
like,
to me like he's trying to like make all these statements for his mother's benefit. Like, Mama, I did not choose to drink this liquor. She made me do it.
she made me drink the medicine.
She used to force him into having unnatural sex.
Oh, shit, great. This is the greatest woman on earth.
Oh my God, you guys are crazy.
Somebody give her a medal.
Hold on. And whenever he tried to resist it, she would abuse him, following which he had to succumb to her pressure and persistent demands.
Unnatural sex.
Okay, so let me get this right. She makes him constantly drink and have sex in the most twisted ways. Okay. And this guy wants a divorce. No. She's an Indian hero. Okay. And he's a debacle. He's a disgrace to the Indian nation. Okay.
No, you know, what they are is they're proof that you should try it out before you get married. I bet they didn't have sex before they were married.
Although I bet she wanted to.
I bet she wanted to, and then she got married. She's like, "This is what I got married for."
Can we have like a voice of reason here for a second?
Give it a shot.
Ben?
Oh, sorry.
I'm waiting for you.
When in the morning meeting you didn't mention the unnatural sex part.
What is unnatural sex? Like,
Fun.
For him, it's a blowjob.
Right, for that, right, yeah, exactly, yeah. Look, being harassed for sex in a relationship is no good. If you're a guy, like, I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, if somebody wants to have sex twice a day, every day, like, whatever. I don't know about you, but at some point, even my whole life, even when I was young and supposed to be in my sexual prime, like, I could take a day off. I can take a couple of days off, you know. Easy.
I don't know what I'm not agreeing with you. But
No, I know you're not agreeing with me because you have sex like 6 times a day, and you're like, whatever. Yeah, sure, we haven't had sex since 2. It's almost 3. Let's go. Yeah.
It's almost 5.
Right. So right. Wes has been thinking there. I can't believe I got to the young here. It took an hour before the show. The show's 2 hours. My God, it's 3 hours since I have sex. I don't, you know, and so I don't know. It strikes me as a woman demanding that in a relationship would wear down a relationship.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And they should get divorced for that reason alone. You have to be into the same thing your partner's into. If one person's really into it and the other isn't, it's never going to work.
It's going to be a disaster. Like, I think sexual chemistry and being on the same page is probably one of the biggest priorities when it comes to a relationship. Like, aside from, like, yeah, we get along, whatever.
That's my opinion.
No. But, like, I think that there's a little too much emphasis on, like, oh, we're best friends and we're partners. That stuff's important. But I think people are afraid to, like, be blunt about how important it is to be on the same page when it comes to sexuality and sexual desires.
No, I'm with you. The unnatural sex is slightly more important. All right, now finally, look, of course you're right. Of course she can't ask for too much. He can't ask for too much. And then another side constantly refusing is also an issue, right? It goes both ways. But I can't help but love her and not like him too much, because he said to the court that he could not bear any more atrocities. And that he was afraid that he was in danger to his life and limb.
Just the line. I mean, I was totally with Anna in that meeting, but we didn't. I hadn't read the line that Anna read. That just take a little segment of the sentence out. That she used to force him into having unnatural sex, and whenever he tried to resist it, and I'm like, oh, I want this woman so badly. You know, because she's begging for it, and I'm like resisting, and then I'm like, okay, just this once.
Yeah. Oh, we got to get a picture.
Yeah, we need to know what this. No, we can't.
Their identities haven't been released, unfortunately.
That is a crime against humanity.
It is, yes.
All right, we're out of time. You want to do that one?
No, we gotta go.
Oh, she wants to go to Vegas. Okay. All right, guys. Wes, thank you. We appreciate it. King of Westeros / Wild Wild West. That's it. Staff post game today for the members to enjoy. Everybody have fun. We'll see you guys on Monday.
Bye-bye. You liked that, didn't you?
Well, if you like that, you'll love the whole show. TYTnetwork.com. Get the whole show as a member.